home from the asylum every night, and he had a girlfriend named Rusty. Dusty and Rusty, they both dressed in white, and she was this much taller than he.
For 50 years, Hollywood described him with the same three words: calm, disciplined, respected. He never chased headlines. He never fed gossip columns. He never used interviews to settle scores or manufacture drama. He showed up, did the work, and let the performances speak. And then at 94 years old, Robert Duvall broke his silence. He named 6 people, called them enemies, not strangers, not rivals he had crossed paths with briefly. His idol, his teacher, the man he once called his brother, the director who handed him his only Oscar. Every single one of them, a giant of the industry he had spent his entire life serving. By the end of this video, you will understand why a man famous for his silence finally decided to speak. And when you hear every name on his list, you will not believe what was underneath the surface of some of the most celebrated partnerships in Hollywood history. Few professional friendships in Hollywood history burned with the kind of genuine intensity that existed between Duvall and Al Pacino during the 1970s. They shared an apartment in Beverly Glen, split the rent, split the groceries, shared the specific kind of conversation that only happens between two people who are both reaching for something enormous and are not yet sure they will get there. They called each other brothers. And at the time, they meant it. What brought everything to the surface was not a confrontation or a betrayal in the dramatic sense. It was a contract. When Paramount sent out the agreements for The Godfather Part 3, the numbers told a story the studio had apparently not considered needed explaining. Pacino's deal represented millions of dollars plus a percentage of the film's profits. Duvall's offer was a fraction of that figure with nothing beyond the flat rate. The mathematics were simple, and the message was clear. One man was the center of the story. The other was the furniture around it. Duvall folded the contract, stood up, and left the meeting. A short time later, a fax arrived at Francis Ford Coppola's office. The message was brief. He would not return to a production that treated him as someone's backdrop. That sentence ended 2 decades of friendship. The sequel went into production without him. Critics noticed immediately. When Duvall left, wrote one prominent reviewer, the film lost its moral center. The relationship between the two men never recovered. At a major industry event years later, both men occupied the same room and managed to spend the entire time looking at everything except each other. Duvall addressed the situation in the only way he ever addressed anything difficult, directly and without softening. "You cannot preach family on screen," he told a reporter, "and then forget what that means the moment the cameras stop." To understand what happened between Robert Duvall and Francis Ford Coppola, you have to understand what Coppola once meant to him. When Coppola pointed at Duvall during the casting process for The Godfather and said he had found his Tom Hagen, he did not simply give Duvall a role. He gave him the platform that the first 2 decades of his career had been building toward. That single decision changed the trajectory of everything that followed. For years, Duvall regarded Coppola with the specific reverence that a serious craftsman has for the person who first recognized his craft. The first cracks appeared during the production of Apocalypse Now, a shoot that became legendary in the industry for the punishing conditions it imposed on everyone involved. Duvall was filming in extreme heat. He collapsed from dehydration during one sequence. His physical condition was visibly compromised. Coppola looked at him and told him to do it again. The light was not right. Duvall obeyed. He finished the scene. The film eventually won one of the most prestigious awards in world cinema. His respect for the man who directed it did not survive the experience. He began to see in Coppola something he had observed in other brilliant people, the capacity for genuine cruelty disguised as the pursuit of excellence. Brilliance and kindness, he had learned, were not the same thing and did not automatically come together. When The Godfather Part 3 arrived and the contract made clear exactly where he stood relative to his co-star, whatever remained of his regard for Coppola's judgment ended. Coppola sent written apologies. Duvall did not respond. They did not meet again. What had begun as genuine admiration, the kind that a young actor feels when someone with real authority tells him that his work matters, ended as something Duvall never found a word for that was adequate to what he felt. Robert Duvall had spent years studying Marlon Brando before they ever occupied the same set. He had watched the performances until he knew every choice, every breath, every silence. He understood what Brando had done to the craft and what it had meant for everyone who came after him. He arrived on the set of The Godfather in 1971 believing he was about to work alongside someone whose relationship to acting was something approaching sacred. Brando arrived 2 hours late. He arrived with cigarettes and sunglasses and a small entourage of people whose purpose seemed to be insulating him from the ordinary requirements of being somewhere on time. He refused to rehearse. He had his lines, written on cards and attached to surfaces around the set, including, on at least one occasion, to another actor. He changed dialogue without warning in ways that disrupted the preparation of everyone around him. Duvall watched this and felt something shift in the way he understood the relationship between talent and discipline. He was the soul of the film, Duvall said of Brando later, and the enemy of every actor working inside it. The tension deepened when the studio quietly paid Brando a bonus that no one else received without explanation. Duvall's response was to leave the press event where he learned about it. Then came the 1973 Academy Awards. Brando sent a representative to the ceremony to decline his Best Actor award on his behalf and to make a public political statement from the stage of Hollywood's most visible annual event. Half of the industry responded with admiration. Duvall responded with something he was not interested in disguising as anything other than what it was. "You took everyone's work," he told a friend, "and turned it into your platform." When Brando died in 2004, Duvall sent a card to Coppola with 3 words on it. Let it end. He did not attend the funeral. At an industry roundtable in 2010, Robert Duvall said something that stopped the room. He looked at the panel around him, which included several significant names in contemporary cinema, and said that the great Stanley Kubrick had been an enemy of actors, that he could point to films Kubrick directed and identify some of the worst performances he had ever seen. The room went quiet. The people beside him responded with the slightly uncomfortable body language of people who were not sure whether to laugh or agree or simply let the moment pass. Duvall was not looking for a response. He meant every word. His objection was not personal. It was philosophical, and it was rooted in a specific belief about what directing actors actually required. Kubrick was known for requiring extraordinary numbers of takes, scenes filmed dozens of times, sometimes close to 100. His reputation for pursuing technical perfection through sheer repetition was well documented. Duvall's question was a simple one. After 70 takes, what is left of a performance? What remains of a human being's emotional truth after they have been asked to produce it on command for the 70th time in a row? He watched documentary footage of a production Kubrick directed and saw an actor required to perform the same physical action more than 100 times, while the director gave instructions in a tone that Duvall described as completely disconnected from any understanding of what the actor was experiencing. That was not direction, in his view. That was extraction. And the difference between those two things was the difference between a filmmaker who worked with actors and one who worked on them. When Kubrick invited him to discuss a potential project, the meeting left him with the impression of a man who could speak for extended periods about technical elements of filmmaking without once referencing the emotional content of the scene being discussed. He was a genius, Duvall said in a published interview. A genius without a heart. That sentence was not well received by a significant portion of the industry. He said it anyway. Robert Duvall never raised his voice at Robert De Niro. Never made the hostility visible in any way that the press could photograph or that colleagues could quote directly. At industry events, they shook hands and exchanged the pleasantries that the situation required. But when Duvall wanted to communicate what he actually thought, he found a way to do it that was both entirely deniable and completely legible to anyone paying attention. "He's very good at playing Italians," Duvall said of De Niro at one point. Very good. It sounded, on the surface, like a compliment. It was not. What Duvall was communicating was something he had believed for years and had said in various forms, to various people. That De Niro's approach to preparation, the physical transformation, the extreme weight changes, the deep method immersion, had gradually become an end in itself rather than a means to something emotionally true. After The Godfather Part 2 established both men as defining figures of serious acting in their generation, they represented, in Duvall's view, two entirely different answers to the same question about what the work actually required. De Niro's answer involved disappearing into the physical reality of a character, gaining 60 pounds. shaving his head, learning dialects to the point of fluency. The transformation was total, and the craft involved in achieving it was genuine and significant. Duvall's answer was built around silence and restraint, around what a character does not say and does not show, around the kind of interior work that does not produce dramatic before and after photographs, but that communicates something specific and undeniable in every frame. The work is not in the weight, Duvall said. It is in the silence. That sentence was his thesis and his critique, delivered simultaneously. When De Niro began appearing in broad comedies in later years, Duvall said nothing publicly. He did not need to. De Niro, for his part, absorbed the criticism with a composure that was either genuine indifference or extremely disciplined restraint. He described Duvall publicly as a serious actor with a different energy. He did not elaborate. Privately, the distance between them was maintained for decades, and nobody on either side made any particular effort to close it. Robert Duvall won his only Academy Award for Best Actor for a 1983 film about a washed-up country singer finding his way back to something worth living for. The film was quiet and small and honest in the way that the best films about ordinary people tend to be honest. His performance was widely considered one of the finest of his career. The experience of making it was one of the most difficult of his professional life. The director had a specific vision for how certain scenes should be shot and a specific idea about the rhythm of Duvall's performance that Duvall did not share. The disagreements were ongoing and eventually produced a confrontation in which Duvall made his position clear in terms that did not leave room for interpretation. When the director refused to adjust his approach, Duvall made a decision without informing anyone. During a key sequence, a church performance that would become one of the most emotionally resonant moments in the finished film, he filmed the scene according to his own instincts without telling the director what he was doing. That version is what audiences saw. The film was nominated for several awards. Duvall won Best Actor. He walked to the stage and delivered his thanks. He acknowledged the writer who had created the material. He thanked the crew. He named a number of the people whose work had contributed to what was on screen. He did not say the director's name. The room noticed. The industry noticed. The press reported on it the following morning. The director told a reporter that he had enormous respect for Duvall's talent and that they could never work together again. Both statements appeared to be entirely sincere. Duvall never apologized. He addressed the situation at a later point by saying that there are moments when a person must choose between loyalty to the character and loyalty to someone else. He had made his choice, and he would make it again. They never reconciled. The silence at the award ceremony became one of those moments that the industry remembers and references long after the specific details of what caused it have faded from common knowledge. Robert Duvall spent 50 years being described as calm, disciplined, and respected. Those descriptions were accurate, but they were incomplete. Underneath the composure was a man with very specific beliefs about what the work required, and very limited patience for the ways those requirements were violated. By directors who treated actors as instruments, by co-stars whose approach he regarded as vanity disguised as craft, by studios that communicated their hierarchies through contract numbers, and by people who had been given his trust and used it carelessly. He did not make